There are a lot of weapons in the Dark Souls series, including Bloodborne and Sekiro, as well as Elden Ring. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a few of my favorites from every game, and why specifically in Elden Ring I do not have a single favorite. More on that later. So, I haven't played Dark Souls 2 that much. The only weapons I've really used to go throughout the game are Ultra Great Swords. My first playthrough being with the Zweihander, love that weapon. My favorite weapons from the game are power stancing smelter swords, like we did in my playthrough we did last year. There's just something about charging two massive flame swords and absolutely obliterating any health bar. In Dark Souls 3, I have a lot of favorite weapons for a couple different reasons. Some being for PvP purposes, some being for PvE purposes. One of my favorite weapons from Dark Souls 3 is the Lothric Knight Ultra Greatsword, because if you know, you know. It is the most damaging weapon you can get the most potential out of in the game when it is sharp infused, dark infused, or I believe chaos infused. You can pump this thing's damage so high, and if you watch my last playthrough of Dark Souls 3 video, we were able to get a ton of damage out of this weapon using Lightning Blade, as well as I believe we sharp infused it or strength infused it, I'm not 100% sure. But you can get so much damage out of this weapon using Lightning Blade or even Dark Moon Blade. It is split damage between magic, which is why I prefer Lightning Blade, but it still looks cool with the Dark Moon Blade buff overall. There are weapons like the Split Leaf Greatsword with its insane true combo of R1 into either weapon art variants. Gale's Greatsword being its R1 into weapon art combo. As well, you can do a fancy hop back turnaround during the weapon art that you can chase people with, which is pretty awesome, doing pretty insane damage. We have the Dragon Slayer Great Axe for reasons of, well, I'll just let this weapon speak for itself. Big Axe Go Boom. And my all-time favorite Dark Souls 3 weapon is, for whatever reason, the Gundir's Halberd has just stuck with me for like years. Now keep in mind, it is very easy to parry, at least especially at the beginning of it, but when you connect that full weapon art, it is insane damage output. Like, I wish I had some references for damage, but it's just insane if you like use it to catch, like, if you riposte someone, parry, and then charge your weapon art, you can just catch them and they're just like dead. It's insane. But you gotta watch out with that parry timing. Very, very good damage. Now for Sekiro, we have got prosthetics as well as shinobi arts. There's the obviously Sakura, I think it's called the Sakura dance, the one where you can reflect Genichiro's lightning back at him with it because it's in the air, and you can do cool things like this. And then we've got, I think it's called Shadow Strike, as well as the Black Feathers. I'm having trouble remembering what these are called because it has been so long since I played the game. And then you've got things like the spear that you can use to pull the parasite out of the Guardian Ape. And as well, you have double Ichi, oh my gosh, I should just bring up what they're called because I have no idea what any of them are called. Double Ichi Manji, just absolutely obliterating in terms of damage and posture damage. As well, we've got just the normal Whirlwind Slash, which does good damage and decent posture damage, and then obviously you cannot count out Aerial Mortal Blade, which just does insane damage and obliterates anything in its path. It is just amazing how cool you can make things look in Sekiro with your weapon arts and countering. I never got into it too much, but it is just so cool. But the replayability of Sekiro, everyone knows, is not as good due to low customization and no like weapons and stuff like that. But it is amazing gameplay wise. Now we get to what this video is really about, and it is why I have no single favorite weapon from Elden Ring. Now, right off the bat, I'm leaning towards the Golden Order Greatsword just because this weapon art is one of the coolest looking things I've ever seen. But also, I have a hard time picking a favorite weapon because I'm used to the idea of if it is overly used, it is not a unique like. Like, I don't think it's popular opinion to like weapons like Rivers of Blood, Dark Moon Greatsword, Blasphemous Blade. Like, those are great weapons. Fantastic weapons. I just do not like personally putting my favorite weapon on a weapon that is globally liked. Which is why I like the Golden Order Greatsword. If you watched part of my Elden Ring playthrough this last year, we used this weapon the last bit of the run because it is just stylish. It does great damage, save for a late game because, as we all know, holy damage falls off in the latter part of Elden Ring, which is unfortunate, but can make it work if you are good enough at the game. The weapon art starts with you posing in such a dramatic way, following into an explosion AoE that does great damage into 2 swipes that ends in a projectile. It's a legendary armament for a reason. It is insanely cool. The projectile does great damage and knocks back as well, I've learned. For nostalgia purposes, I like the Iron Golem halberd, which is not even a halberd, it's a colossal weapon. My first playthrough, I used Cragblade on it, and before it was even popular, I used to stance break build using this. Like with the, I think it's the Stony, or the Thorn-Cracked tier, with the charge attack talisman, charge attack tier, and this thing just obliterated people. I even got 2 of them in my original run, and it's not as good as just holding 1, but it still does great. I even used this weapon to beat Melania the first time, which, if you know Colossal Melania, is not very fun, but I made it work. It has one of the longest ranges for a Colossal weapon, so that it has that going for it, and its damage is nothing to cry about, as well as you can equip Lion Claw on it, and you can get some pretty insane damage numbers out of it. Next up, we've got Godfrey's Axe. Now, this weapon is just cool, not because it's special with damage, and its poise damage especially doesn't actually even make sense, because it does low poise damage for a Colossal weapon. What makes me like this weapon is the cool factor of it. Shouting in the air and pounding it into the ground, and then following up with some very hefty looking swipes. You just feel super powerful swinging this axe, and everything's going flying in the air after pounding into the ground. It's just super cool. Another fantastic weapon in Elden Ring is the absolute behemoth of just the Great Sword. Putting Lion Claw on this, cosplaying Guts Berkman himself is just so satisfying. Putting Spinning Slash, I believe is what it's called, Stamp Swipe? I think it's called Stamp Swipe. And then just hurling through a bunch of enemies in an AoE with this insane damage. It's supposedly not the greatest great sword, but it is called the Great Sword for a reason. It's just sick. People like the Zweihander a lot better just because its charged R2 is a lot faster, as well as a lunge animation instead of a swipe. You know, I like the Greatsword because Berkman. But yeah, overall, I think I'm leaning towards the Golden Order Greatsword just because it looks fantastic, but is unfortunately held back by its holy damage. But with the upcoming Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, I'm hoping I can find my true one beloved. Alongside the Smelter Demon Swords, Champion Gundir's Halberd, probably double Ichimaji from Sekiro. We didn't talk about Bloodborne in this episode, but my favorite weapon from that game is the Beast Cutter. So yeah, these are some of my favorite weapons from the Dark Souls series. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know some of your favorite weapons in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.